August 25th, 2025, Kyiv, Ukraine. Inside the presidential offices, a handshake carries the weight of history. German Vice-Chancellor Lars Klingbeil arrives with a message that echoes far beyond diplomatic courtesies. Berlin is ready to help Ukraine secure guarantees that Russia will never again wage war on its soil. For Ukraine, still scarred by years of full-scale invasion, the question of tomorrow is urgent. How can Kyiv defend itself not only today, but against future aggression? And for Germany, Europe's economic engine, the answer lies in partnership, money and military capacity. The pledge is clear, €9 billion annually, locked into Germany's budget planning. A promise Klingbeil calls historic, not just in financial terms, but as a signal of determination to stand with Ukraine year after year. Support that continues regardless of political wins in Berlin. But Klingbeil goes further. He speaks of a package, guarantees that Russia will not dare attack again, guarantees built not on vague words but on deterrence, a stronger Ukrainian army, stronger arms production and a defence system robust enough to make Moscow think twice. And with bluntness rare in diplomacy, Klingbeil warns that peace with Vladimir Putin remains unlikely. In his words, the German government must be realistic. Russia does not want serious peace. If true, then strength is not an option. It is the only shield for Ukraine's survival. This visit is not only about pledges and soundbites, it is about trust. For Kyiv, trust means allies will not waver if the war drags on. For Berlin, trust means Ukraine can manage resources, build its army and become a pillar of Europe's defence. Germany has already delivered tanks, air defence systems and humanitarian aid. But Klingbeil hints at the next chapter, joint weapons production inside Ukraine. A bold step to ensure that Kyiv can manufacture its own arms, independent of foreign supply chains. Security guarantees remain the heart of the debate. NATO membership is Ukraine's ultimate goal, but full accession remains politically thorny. Instead, Berlin is now championing what it calls a package, a blend of financial aid, military training and arms production that could make Ukraine strong enough to deter Russia on its own. For President Volodymyr Zelensky, who has repeatedly urged allies to think beyond speeches, such guarantees are essential. For Klingbeil, they are urgent. The lesson of 2022, when Western hesitation gave Moscow room to strike, is one Europe cannot afford to repeat. Yet the questions remain. How binding will these guarantees be? Can Germany, already stretched by economic pressures, deliver sustained support? And will Russia heed deterrence or test Europe's resolve once again? In Kyiv today, one message stands out. The alliance between Germany and Ukraine is growing deeper, more strategic and more determined. A handshake became a promise. A press conference became a statement of intent. And for a country under siege, intent may soon translate into survival. August 25th, 2025. Kyiv. As Germany's Vice-Chancellor departs, the echoes of his words linger. Support measured not just in billions, but in guarantees. Guarantees meant to ensure that Ukraine can one day live without fear of another Russian invasion.
So what we share, that the first point is security guarantee, strong Ukrainian army європейських країн, які першими почали фінансування цієї
from Germany in this case. And secondly, is there any sign that Putin...
The support continues. As Finance Minister, I made it a priority, and this was also agreed upon by consensus within the federal government, that we would commit to providing support for Ukraine in the coming years, €9 billion every year. This is an important contribution that Germany is making to support Ukraine. Ultimately, we need a package that guarantees Ukraine that Russia will not attack again, that Russia is afraid to attack Ukraine. And we need to talk about that now. And I'm not coming here with statements saying, this is how we're going to do it. Instead, we need to develop a plan together. I know that it is also very important to the Chancellor that we talk about these issues. And what President Zelensky addressed, the question of how we can build a strong Ukrainian army, how we can build strong Ukrainian arms production. These are two areas on which we will focus very strongly. I believe we must also be very realistic in assuming that Putin does not want serious peace. And in this case, too, the Federal Republic of Germany, the federal government, stands firmly alongside our Ukrainian friends.